These striking teachers have brought a phrase from teachers' staff rooms into the public conversation. They call it classroom complexity, and what it means is kids of different learning abilities, needs, and challenges all crammed into one, often large, class. The reality of it is more than just complicated. It can be described as chaotic. So how can we make it better?
Within those classes, you might have several students, maybe 6 or 7 or 8, or even more students who are on individualized learning plans, which means that they might be learning a different set of curriculum than the rest of students in the class. You might have a number of students within the class who have English as an additional language. You might have students who are struggling to manage their behavior and with emotional regulation, and you might have gifted students.
We're kind of now at a tipping point where the system's saying the tools we have to serve all kids are simply insufficient for the complexity of the task, for the challenge of the task.
In extreme cases, there may even be instances of student violence towards other students or teachers. Experts say students are not to blame. The situation is.
When kids are frustrated, when they're acting out, they're telling us something, right? It's communication. Something's not working for them. So we need to figure out what is that and then help them with the classroom understand that. Now that may not be the classroom teacher's responsibility.
So how did we get here? Well, let's start with the intent behind classroom complexity, the right of students with different learning needs to be brought into a single learning environment. There was even a UNESCO document about it. It was called the Salamanca Declaration, and it was signed by more than 90 countries, including Canada, exactly 30 years ago.
I think what we've come to realize over the years is that segregation is not a good thing. And we're now starting to understand that with people with disabilities, that when we segregate, we think they are less than, we think that they are different from, and that gives that message to everybody else that they're not as worthy. So it really is a human rights perspective if we think about that.
The thing is, in Canada, each province and territory runs its own education system. Provinces give funding to school boards, and then eventually that funding determines if there's enough money to hire additional staff, like teaching assistants, school-based speech and language pathologists, and child psychologists. Teacher unions in Ontario, BC, and New Brunswick have all successfully lobbied governments to put some provisions in place. Though many teachers and parents in those provinces will tell you it's not like every student there gets the support they need. In places like Saskatchewan, teachers say class complexity has an effect on every single child in that class.
It is heartbreaking. I know teachers take it home with them. I've had the experience where I have seen kids struggling, and despite everyone's best effort, whether it's the teacher, the student, or members of the family who are trying to support the learning that needs to happen, that the students' needs are getting left behind.
But it's not just about money. Some experts say it's also about how that money is spent. Often that requires creative thinking.
Sometimes support staff spend so much time supporting a kid with special education needs through their day, they don't get time with the teacher. But we could reverse some roles for small periods of the day where the teacher works with the kids who need them most, and the support staff supports the rest of the kids in their general learning activity.
Also, an overhaul in how teachers are trained.
66% of the teachers in Nova Scotia, when that student's first report came down, said their teaching training did not prepare them. They didn't feel prepared in the classroom.
But over in Saskatchewan, they want solutions now, more long-term, sustained funding and language around class sizes.
It might be hiring additional teachers to ensure that we have smaller class sizes or fewer split grade classes. It could be hiring some of those extra professional supports.
Some teachers say inclusion without proper supports is abandonment. As the conversation around complex classrooms gets more urgent, more uncomfortable, more complicated.